Hi, so my name is Shruti Kotia and I'm from Pratisandhi. I'm volunteer there. And Pratisandhi, as you might be knowing, is a non-profit organization which is raising
Yeah,
awareness.
that. Mhm.
You're not audible, yeah. Uh, so it's an
Am I
organization.
audible now?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a non-profit organization working towards raising sexual
Uh-huh.
awareness in India. And before we proceed with the interview, would you like to introduce yourself a bit, like a little bit
Hello, my
about
name.
yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Anand. Most of the people know me as Shabnam Bewafa. I'm a participant actor in TV shows in different embassies in India. And apart from this, I'm a full-time advisor at a credit bureau called Equifax US. So that's basically it.
That's great. Also, I'd like to appreciate the like you took out the time to give us this interview, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I mean, if
Uh,
you're doing something to bring for the unheard voices of the society and trying to make it a better place for the LGBT community, I'll always be for anything.
Thank you so much. Okay, first we'll start with a small game, a rapid fire round, where I'll ask you a few questions, and you'll just have to answer them as quickly as possible. Right? Okay.
Okay, let's
So
do it.
yeah, who would you call your favorite drag queen in India and abroad?
In abroad, it's going to be Willem. In India, it's going to be Lush Monsoon.
Nice. What is the one most frustrating thing about being about drag?
People would see you as a sexual object most of the time, and if they couldn't find any point against you, they will defame you and they will go your profession and try to create a mess. So yeah, there's a lot of politics in the drag world.
Yeah. How expensive is exactly drag?
Okay, everything I earn, it usually goes back to my drag money, like the footwears, the wigs, the costumes, the makeup. Of course, makeup is shit as expensive,
Yeah,
and I mean everything I earn, it goes back to drag, and like it's my drag money. It's supposed to go there. So at the end of the day, what matters to me is at least for a night or maybe for 2 days or some few hours, I'm getting to live the femininity which I'm now starting to embrace in myself.
that's great. That's really great. Your favorite place to perform? What would you call like? Where is your favorite place to perform?
It is with Hamlet, one of my really old friend Rishu. He's the founder of Hamlet, which is a non-funded organization, which is a self-funded organization. What I love about their events is they are very professional, and I get a lot of respect there.
That's really nice to hear. What would be the one advice you'd like to give to people who are just starting out or they have never done drag? So, what would be that one advice?
Just be yourself and try to get your original performances as much as you can, and take inspiration from everything. And it is not mandatory for you to be a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race to be a drag queen. I'm the example. So,
That's nice. So, would you like to tell me how you went, like how you came forward with this? Like, everyone knows you through the name Shabnam Bewafa. How did you come up with the name? What inspired you?
okay, it's a funny and it's a really sensitive story. Like the first name has a really sensitive part to my life. Back then, when I was in school, I was a little different, a little shy, a bit introvert. And there was a teacher who used to teach me geography. Her name was Shabnam. She always knew that I was different, and she knew that I was not like others. And instead of judging me or seeing me from a different like site, she always used to embrace it, how feminine I was, or maybe how I used to think differently. And she always said me one thing, even these days, she sends me messages saying that you will do wonders someday, you have that spark in you. And believe me, she had a really great figure. And she was so beautiful, she was so elegant. I mean, she was magical. And so that's how the first name Shabnam comes into the picture. And regarding the last name, that is Bewafa, I had a really pop and fresh affair with a guy who's now a Bollywood actor, a really famous,
Yeah.
which is a bit controversial. Like I've like very recently I watched one of his series on Amazon Prime and I was shocked. And we had a fight, and he called me Bewafa. And then I was in a really intense relationship with him, so it really hurt me a lot. And so after, when I was trying to love myself again and trying to get over him, this word was stuck in my head somewhere, that he called me Bewafa, that is unfaithful.
Hmm.
And I was a very weak person before that. I used to take comments, labels very seriously. So that was the time when I made a decision that if he called me Bewafa, why should I not take a pride in it? I should create something magical out of it. I
Yeah,
should create a brand out of
yeah.
it. This should be my tightest slap on his face.
That's the
That's
best
how
way.
Shabnam and Bewafa. And it was very cool, quirky too. It was a different name for the market.
Hmm. I love what you shared. It's actually really inspiring.
My
So,
life is a roller coaster.
so moving forward, so how would you describe drag? What exactly is drag?
So if we'll go with the history, drag is an art form. It started way back in the 18th century when the women were not allowed to step out of their houses. So men used to wear such long skirts,
Hmm.
and they used to replace women in dramas, theater, and other performances. And with those long skirts, they used to drag those skirts on stage. Like those long skirts, they used to drag them on stage. And that's how the word drag came into the picture. But
Hmm.
if we'll go with the Russian philosophy, the word drag, if we'll break it into pieces, it's dressed up as a girl. The word
Yeah,
drag.
yeah,
So this is what the scientific terms and the boring things about drag. What I feel, for me, drag is just an art form. Is just for me, it's just an outlet to wear a fun costume and entertain people on stage. That's what it means to me.
that's nice. So, when did you come across this art form? Like, what inspired you to start doing it?
Trust me, it's a crazy story. So the my very first interaction with a drag queen or maybe a drag character was back then when I was in seventh standard. There's a really famous movie called Hairspray,
Yeah.
wherein John Travolta played the role of Edna Turnblad, which is also a drag. And by looking at her, I didn't feel disgusted, but I felt a little weird, and I was like, "This is the last thing I'll do for my life." And look at me now. And then how I started drag. So a few of my friends in, like, back then in 2017, dared me to dress up as a girl. And as I said, I was having a really harsh breakup.
Hmm.
I wanted to stop that guy from a distance, just to keep an eye on him, that what he's doing now. Like mere baat usko kaun mila.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
scene. And I went to a club called Kisu, and I was in drag, and I was the only drag queen that very night there. And I did not know that what I was doing was drag. And I was running short of cigarettes. I went up to a random guy and asked him for a smoke. What he gave me was more than a cigarette, nothing fishy. He gave me an advice. He was so stunned to see like how I pulled it off. And I was back then 18 years old, yup, and I pulled it off. And I was having my bullets going on. And first of all, I made illegal entry to the club, and second, I was looking gorgeous,
That's
like gorgeous AF. And the guy said, "Why don't you perform in my club?" I was like, "Your club?" He was the owner of the club Kisu and
Ooh,
the chain of college as well. So I accidentally bumped into him, and then he motivated me to perform. And then I did my first show after a week, and then I was booked again, and then I was getting booked again and again and again and again. That I'm so tired of it now.
that's
That's how drag
amazing.
started.
That's such a great coincidence.
Maybe मेरा luck अच्छा था मेरा.
So, how did you come out to your parents as gay? Like, and do you think people assume your sexuality just because you take part in drag?
Okay, it's a really nice question. So, being a gay guy, you have to see, come out is anyway your personal choice. But like generally, if you're gay, you have to come out once. But if you're gay and you're a drag queen, you have to come out of the closet twice.
Yeah.
Because first you have to give them a shock that hey, I'm gay, and second, so the very first time I told so the very first person I ever told in my life about my sexuality was my sister, and obviously she was a little shocked, and she took her own time because
Yeah.
what see, I'm from a typical big fat Punjabi family, and but one thing which is very rare in our family is that I got the privilege of education, and I grew up in a really broad-minded I grew up around really broad-minded people, except for a few masses I don't like. And when I told her, she did her own research about it, my sister, and
Yeah.
she took her time. She understood it, and then one day she came up to me and said, "It's okay if it's keeping you, if it's making you happy. I'm no one to stop you. But at the end of the day, you need to realize that the people will hurt you, and
Yeah.
जो भी वो boring बात करते हैं, you know."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then eventually she accepted me, and then I came out to everyone, like, gradually everyone in my life, like in my family. And when I started drag, you won't imagine, for almost 3 to 4 months my family had no idea what I was doing, and my articles were there on newspaper. I was on TV media. Like one fine day I remember, my father was reading a newspaper, and it had my photo on it,
Yeah.
and I was a little scared that what's going to happen now. And then he did not even recognize me. Then one fine Sunday, I think it was afternoon after lunch, we were watching TV, and on India Today, I was stripping. Like they recorded me stripping at Tirisu, and I was sitting in the middle, and I looked at my papa. He looked at me. He's like, "Is that you?" And I'm like, "I'm hot,
Yeah.
duh,
That's one way.
big deal." And then it took 2 hours. It took 4 hours, and then he came up to me and said, "If it's keeping you busy, it's okay. Although I don't like it, but I don't see. I don't love it, but I don't like. I mean, I don't like it too, and I don't love it too. It's just okay. Like it's like he was a very, what is that word? Like I'm running short of words. He was very neutral about it.
He exactly did not know how
And
to react at that very moment.
yeah, he like he told me that I was never trained to raise up a child like you, but I'm trying. Please trust my wife. I was like, okay. And I was a little shocked because my sister was a little resistant for me doing drag. But she never realized that she was my gateway to femininity. Everything I
Yeah.
learned about women, every every choices of her, I grew up watching her.
Yeah.
She still is an idol to me. And see, I lost my mother when I was 5, so the only woman in my family was my sister.
Yeah.
And it took her some time. Even right now, she is 80% of acceptance that I do what I
Yeah.
do, and 20% she's like, don't do it. The typical Indian mindset, and she's very
Yeah.
old school because we have a huge age gap. So I don't blame her too, but it's okay. And regarding people perceiving me doing drag because of my sexuality, my question to them is Sunil Grover gay? Is Kiku Sharda gay?
Yeah. That's a good
They are
question.
also
Yeah.
doing drag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
And is Kamal Hassan gay?
That's true.
So what I believe, an art form is just an art form, regardless.
Definitely.
Anyone can do it. If you're gay, straight, bi, purple, blue, pink, animal, even animals can do drag. You know, you can put a fun costume on your dog or your cat, and you
Yeah.
can get them on stage with you. It's going to be
Yeah.
fun. So
Definitely.
yeah, if someone writes a poem, see, or not a poem. Let's say, if you like singing, does that relate to your gender anyway, or your sexuality anyway? No,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. It
If
doesn't.
I love to eat brownies, if I love to eat brownies over cake, it doesn't define my sexuality.
Definitely.
It's just a choice. It's a really tiny part of my identity. My skills are me. My talents are me. My education is me. This is just something I want to keep to my partner in my bed, and you can't take it away because I'm happy.
Definitely. I totally agree with you. So,
And
how would you say was your experience of giving your first TED talk at Kalindi?
I goofed it up a big time. I'll tell you what happened exactly. So my TED Talk was on 20th. I had a tour going on
Yeah.
from 17 from on 17 I left for Lucknow from Delhi, and on 19th midnight I came back,
Okay.
and I had to report at the TEDx wala venue at 8 a.m. sharp in the morning. So I didn't prepare anything, and then every time I do drag, I kinda drink a little just to get the vibe.
Yeah.
And then I'm talking there. I met so many eminent people there. So I was already on fire. And like I was very excited because I never knew that. See, I grew up watching TED Talks because they
Yeah.
talk about inspirational things. But apparently, I had to add some shit to it. So I gave the performance, which was a hit because I'm pro in it.
Yeah.
When it comes to speaking, I don't really understand that what exactly I speak.
Hmm.
I must tell you, I'm a person who's very confused with words, and I'm so tired of explaining everything to people. But I
Yeah.
gave my best shot, and they released the video after 6 months. Okay, and for 6 months I was thinking, did I really fucked it up that they're not uploading my video? And then one day, I was meeting a few friends in Boston, and three friends they texted me at the same time, like they were watching my TikTok, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And then I watched it. I made a little sense of. I was funny, I made sense. I brought glamour, and the next day it was everywhere. So one of my relatives, my close relatives, watched it, and I was looking for a validation from that person just since the time when I was young. Because for them, I was never enough. We
Yeah.
all have that
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah. Yeah.
creep in our family. Whatever, you're never enough.
Yeah.
And then that day, he appreciated me, and I was so glad. I felt so good. And regarding the whole experience, the people they were really professional. And I remember after I went out of the venue, I clicked selfie with more than 200 people. I felt precious in the room. Like, am I that famous? Hello. So, yeah, that was a
That's great.
fantastic day.
So do
But I
you?
goofed up a lot.
Yeah. So do you get like stage jitters before you actually perform? Like, when you do drag, when you
Um,
dress up, you go out. Do you get like stage jitters even before your TED talk?
I'll tell you, see, it depends on what my mood is. See, if someone is throwing shade at me or is appreciating me, see, if they're appreciating me, I'll obviously respond.
Yeah.
If I'm in a whole happy mood, and you won't believe, I bought cigarettes in drag from a pan wala bhaiya. He was so stunned to see what I'm doing. He had no clue what उन्होंने क्या देख के वो उठे होंगे सुबह और I already met was in drag because I always wanted to go through that female wala compartment and
Yeah.
in the female compartment. So I did drag and I went with my friends. I went Bangla Sahib in drag on my birthday. So
Really?
I've met mixed people throughout, and it depends that see, if I'm pissed, that person would be blessed for so long. He will get it from me. But if I'm in a happy mood and someone is throwing a comment at me, I will first try to educate them.
Yeah.
If not, then they will get a standing ovation from my tallest finger.
That's one way. That's actually really cool. So we've come to the end of this interview. Thank you so much. This was very informative and this was an amazing session. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed getting to know you.
I'm so glad that I was able to help you.
I really appreciate what you're doing. Really appreciate it.